So, you want to start playing Trailblazer League. It's a little late, but because you've seen some of the amazing content, as well as you're a little bored of regular RuneScape, or maybe you just got the free week of membership through Twitch Prime and want to try something new. I think the first question you have to ask is, well, is it too late to start? And the answer is obvious. No, of course not. Trailblazer League is so diverse, and you can do almost any content you want in a way you've never experienced it before. I have no doubt that in the next few weeks we'll be seeing a lot of content creators showing off the replayability of leagues and respecking to try out a new build. Now, it's worth mentioning that this video is not going to be an exact guide on what I think the best build of relics and zones actually is, but rather I'd like to lay out as many options as possible and show how they complement each other via regions and other relics, then let you make your decision from there. I'll be having two different types of videos about starting leagues. One's going to cover the different regions and what benefits they give, as well as what they have to offer. And this style of video, which will cover the relics, what playstyles suit them best, as well as what areas work well with them. Now, the best place to start, of course, has to be the very beginning. As soon as you log into a League Worlds, you have to make your first decision on what you want your first relic to be. This decision actually sets your pacing for the rest of the league, and it affects how you do your tasks to unlock remaining areas and future relics. So let's break it down. Like all but one decision you'll be making concerning relics this league, you have three options in front of you. The first is Endless Harvest. It doubles all resources gathered from fishing, woodcutting, and mining, and deposits them directly into your bank, unless your bank is full, in which they are put in your inventory. I think that this relic is best for the AFK player. If you want to be able to sit at a teak tree or the Karambwan fishing spot and AFK Karambwans without having to interact with your screen for nearly 15 minutes, this is your go-to. It also gives double gem rocks, which is pretty cool as well. Your next option is Production Master. It basically has a bunch of activities that can be done in one action instead of however it would normally take to do it, meaning you're smithing a full inventory of cannonballs in one action instead of the 27 it normally takes. Same with making knives, cleaning inventories of herbs, and cooking all of your food in one tick, as well as most normal crafting methods. However, do be aware that you still have to gather those raw materials in the first place, so having something like the Volcano or a shop for obtaining ores could be really helpful. Also note that making cannonballs, you need to have Asgarnia and Kandarin unlocked for the Dwarf Cannon quest. Also, note that if it's not specifically listed on the relic screen, it doesn't do that action in one move. For example, smithing Tethfra in the Volcano goes one at a time instead of a full inventory at once. Your third and final tier 1 relic is Skilling Prodigy. It boosts all non-combat skills permanently by 12. And while it may not sound great, this is a fantastic relic. It allows you to do a lot of tasks earlier than you would otherwise be able to. For example, you can kill abyssal demons for a whip at 73 Slayer, or catch herbivore at 68 Hunter instead of 80. Not to mention, you basically skip all of the slowest training methods in the game because you start at 13 instead of 1. Now that we've covered all three relics, a quick summary is worthwhile for those who thought it was too long and didn't watch. If you like AFKing the game on the side, take Endless Harvester. If you can dedicate a lot of time to playing the game to get raw resources and want to see awesome XP drops as well as get stuff done quickly, consider taking Production Master. Lastly, if you want to rush through leagues and experience as much as you can as quickly as you can, take Skilling Prodigy. Next up is the Tier 2 relics. You should unlock this pretty quick as it raises your multiplier from 5 to 8, so maybe save most of your crest rewards for when you unlock this relic. The options themselves are pretty cool, but there is one that is much stronger than the others. The first option is Fairy's Flight. If you take this, you are now a part of the Fairy Gang. It's a pretty cool relic on paper. You basically get an item that allows you to teleport to any fairy ring or spirit tree from where you currently are. I'm pretty sure that even if you don't take Kandarin, which unlocks Spirit Tree Transport System, you can still go to a Spirit Tree. Overall, it's a cool gimmick, but pretty weak as it's only effective in certain regions. The next option is Eternal Jeweler. It gives you a bunch of teleportation jewelry, like Rings of Dueling and Skills Necklaces, but it doesn't give you a Glory, Slayer Ring, or a Dig Site Pendant. However, any jewelry that does use charges to teleport, including the ones that it doesn't give you, no longer use charges. The only times I can think of that make this a really useful relic are as if you really want a Ring of Wealth but don't want to take the Wilderness as a region, or if you do take the Wilderness early and want to be able to teleport out at 30 Wilderness without getting crafting for Rings of Wealth. Now, the third relic in Tier 2, Last Recall, is by far the strongest. It teleports you back to wherever you just teleported from. So, let's say you're at a fishing or mining spot and just filled up an inventory because you didn't take Endless Harvester, and you need to bank. Just use your Royal Seed Pod or Varrock Teleport to get to a bank extremely quickly, then activate your relic to immediately brought back to the spot you came from. Not to mention the in-game abilities this has, like being able to refill your spec and prayer while bossing and then immediately teleporting back to the boss. Or how about making rune crafting one of the fastest skills by immediately teleporting between the altar and a bank. Overall, if for some reason you are thinking of taking a Tier 2 relic that isn't Last Recall, make sure you know what you're doing because you're missing out on one of the strongest relics in the game. Next up is arguably the most important relic choice you'll make. Relic 3 has the biggest influence on how you choose to play the rest of the league. First of all, no matter what you pick, it makes all major drops twice as common, but that's not really what's important. Let's look at the actual relics. Your first option is Quick Shot. This is the relic you take if you plan on making more of a ranged build. It makes it so you deal 10% more damage and have 100% increased accuracy when attacking an NPC, 50% against players. It also saves 90% of ammo when ranging on everything except Chinchampas, which means Crystal Bow charges and Zara scales for Blowpipe are saved. This effect also stacks with Ava's, giving you a 90% save rate when wearing the Ava's Accumulator and a 98.5 with the Assembler. Still, if you take this relic, I feel like you absolutely have to take Tyrannin. For access to the 2-tick Crystal Bow with Crystal Armor, trust me, the DPS is insane, as well as a 1-tick Blowpipe. I would also suggest considering the Desert for the ability to smith dart tips. However, it is possible to get darts and dart tips through other drops like Implings, Dragons, Bosses, and Laren's chests, so it's not exactly required. Our next option is Fluid Strikes. This is by far the most taken Tier 3 relic, and rightfully so. It halves your melee speed, 4-tick weapons like a whip, rapier, and D-Sim are now 2-tick. It increases your melee accuracy by 25%, makes you take 15% less damage, and your hit points regen at 4 times the current rate. This stacks with Regen Bracelet and Rapid Heal Prayer. The fact that the best weapons in the game for this league are melee, either Rapier or Inquisitor Mace, hitting at 2 ticks apart, are insane. Not to mention all of the quests that have melee XP, it's a super quick place to start training, and of course the fact that you have 3 skills to train at a fast rate compared to the 1 or maybe 2 with the other relics. Melee is commonly seen as one of the strongest relics. Overall, if you take melee, you probably want some combination of Kandarin, Moritania, Fremennik, and Asgarnia. Kandarin for the early game quests, Moritania for the in-game items, Fremennik for other in-game items, or Asgarnia for Piety, Cerberus for Prims, and God War's Dungeon for Bando's armor. The third and final relic in Tier 3 is Double Cast. This relic was completely slept on by almost the entire community, except for a select few 4%, myself included. Double Cast makes it so that all magic weapons and spells speeds are halved, rounded up. Unfortunately, most spells casted are a standard 5-tick speed, which results in those spells being 3 ticks to attack instead of the 2 that you see as a standard for almost all the other styles. However, the Trident and Sang Staff are both becoming 2-tick weapons, as well as any spell used with the Harmonized Staff. It also saves 90% of runes when casting spells, and that includes non-combat spells such as Alchemy, Teleports, and anything on the Lunar Spellbook, as well as charges used on either the Trident or Sanguinesti Staff. Lastly, it increases magic accuracy by 125% against NPCs, 50% against players. This actually ended up causing an unintentional bug which Jagex removed and then reinstated. It caused ice spells like Ice Barrage and Ice Blitz to have near 100% accuracy, so it became very, very strong. If you take Double Cast, you will most likely want to take either Kandarin or Wilderness, Desert or Fremennik, as well as Moritania. This will be covered in my other video about regions, but Kandarin gives you the best mage bonuses, being a cult necklace and tormented bracelet, as well as a trident, whereas the wilderness gives you god spells, a mage cape 1 and 2, as well as money from revs and a shop for in-game runes, with no other requirements. Not to mention the abyss for runecrafting. Then you'll either take the desert for ancients or Fremennik to pair with Kandarin for access to wrath runes and wrath rune crafting in the Myths Guild. Finally, you'll take Mauritania last for access to Barrow's armor, being full Arams, as well as the Sanguinesti staff and any of the Nightmare staffs. At the end of the day, the Tier 3 relic determines how you play the rest of the game. It comes down to what you enjoy and what regions you plan on taking. The remaining 3 relics can fit into almost any other build for regions, but they obviously complement depending on what relics choices you've made so far. This video has gotten pretty long and gives you enough information to get started, so I'll end it here and give you guys a part 2 and the regions video over the next week or so. Good luck, and I'll see you out in leagues.